Does this look like you at the top of your backswing? Boy, I hope not. Certified RotarySwing Instructor Anthony here. What I just demonstrated for you was the dreaded reverse pivot. Simply put, it's where my spine angle was facing toward the target at the top of my backswing. What that does, it puts my back in a very vulnerable position for injury, and it puts a lot of stress on my lower back. So what I want to talk to you about today is what causes the reverse pivot and how to take it out of your game or prevent it from happening in the future. So let's get started. So when we're talking about preventing reverse pivot, the first place that we look at is your setup position. And we want to make sure that you have axis tilt, which is tilting your spine away from the target behind the golf ball. Okay? So when you set up to the golf ball, the good way to do this is put the club behind the ball and you take your normal setup position, but you haven't put your trail hand on. Okay? I want you to take your trail hand, instead of just putting it on top of the club, which makes my spine angle vertical, I want you to take this trail hand and I want you to feel like you're going to sneak up underneath it or behind it and grip it from the underside. What that does is it shifts your hips forward, tilting your spine back, puts you in a safe position to start with. Okay? So that's the first step, is getting your body in a position where you can maintain axis tilt on your backswing. The second part and the second cause to losing reverse pivot is when we lose control of the arms. Okay? We let the arms and the club dictate our backswing rather than staying in control of all this. Okay? So if you swing your arms back with enough momentum and it starts pulling you up, and as the club is moving this way, my hips are going to react. They're going to slide underneath me, and that's going to put me into reverse pivot, putting my back under tension. Okay? Adding insult to injury from this position, the only way I can get this club back on plane is I have to jerk the club down from the top. So that puts a second strike on my back from just this one swing. You do that a few times in a round of golf, and I promise you your back's going to feel it. Okay? So instead, what we want to do is keep control of the club on the way back. So when you take your setup position and you have your axis tilt, first thing I want you to think about is pushing this trail leg into the ground. Anchor it. Make that thing solid so that your hips will not slide on the backswing. Okay? Once you've solidified the lower body, I want you to use your core to rotate your entire torso. So your torso rotates, your shoulders and arms are connected to your torso, so everything works together. So now you have control of the club, your arms, and your backswing, allowing you to keep your back in a safe position. Okay? At the end of the day, you're trying to keep control of this club because you want this club face on that golf ball going to your intended target. Okay? So we want to stay under control the whole time. Okay? Now, if you understand all this and you're working on your reverse pivot and you're working on your backswing in static positions, the first thing I would give you from a checkpoint position is when you get to the top of your backswing, if you had a necktie on, I want you to see that that necktie is hanging freely over your trail foot. If it's draped across your chest, then that means you've lost your axis tilt. My spine angle is going this way, and that's the only way it can lay across my chest. So that's not the position we want to be in. Okay? Another checkpoint for you is when you get to the top of your backswing, if you can do a little bit of a jump and it doesn't hurt your back, then you're in a more loaded position because now all the tension is going through your legs. Okay? And so you don't want to put your back in a vulnerable position. If you feel any tension in your back, I'm going to argue you've lost your axis tilt, or you may just feel like you need to add a little bit more. Slide those hips back underneath you, creating more tilt. Then you're in a more loaded position. Think about it like an athlete. A baseball player takes a ball and they're going to throw it. Do you ever see them wind up and get into this position? No. They get those legs underneath them and they take a step and they get really loaded so they can use the ground and use their legs to fire that ball or fire that club, or hockey player or anything like that, right? So those are the things to look for when you're trying to take reverse pivot out of your game or prevent it from ever happening. If you like this video, click the like button down below. Also, I would have you take a look at Chuck's video on the necktie drill. He goes into a little bit more detail on how all that works. Other than that, my friends, I look forward to seeing you soon. If you're on the website, I look forward to working with you as well. Talk to you guys soon.